Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Silver and Black Coffee Hour, a San Antonio Spurs podcast based in Austin, Texas. My name is Tom Petrini, and I'm joined today by my good friends, Aaron Blackerby. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I went and did some South by Southwest yesterday afternoon, not at night, because I watched the game.
And
But I'm doing good.
You were telling me about the South by stuff. It was Longhorn Lounge, you said?
Hookham House.
Hookham House. Wow.
Yeah.
I love
Hookham House at Antone's.
I love that my brain did that. That's really good. But who was there?
I went and saw an interview with Colt McCoy and the Third and Longhorn podcast. And then I saw Spurs legend R.C. Buford there. Did I approach him and say hi? No. After I saw him, did I think about going back and seeing him and saying hi? Yes. He was gone. So
He's a good guy. He would have.
Joke's on me.
Also, here is my other good friend, Zach Montana. Zach, what up, dude? I saw your mom at the NASCAR race this week. She sold me this totally bitchin' t-shirt. Hold on. The Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix, whatever it says down there. Yeah. It was a good time. We squashed our beef. I know I've questioned her ball knowledge on this show before. Maybe said some unflattering things. I don't know. We probably shouldn't go back and find a clip of whatever I said and put it in here. She's a nice lady. Really nice lady. But how are you, Zach?
I'm doing good. Glad y'all squashed your beef. Doing well. Went to the game on Tuesday, watched the game last night. Just a good little Spurs week. A lot of things happening for the boys.
And hello, Ms. Montana, if you're watching. Good to see you again.
She watches. She tunes in.
She told me to call her by her first name and not Mrs. Montana. I was like, I'm not going to do that, Mrs. Montana. So thank you for watching, Mrs. Montana.
There you go.
We got a good show today. Some good basketball from your scrappy San Antonio Spurs. Some winning basketball. Some guys turning things around. Some things that need to get cleaned up. Some looming questions about the remainder of the season. So yeah, we'll jump right into that. Just gotta say, like and subscribe and tell your friends and enemies, and leave us comments about who has the best facial hair right now. It's
5-star ratings as well.
On
if
Yelp,
you could drop some 5
Google
stars. I hope not on Google Maps.
Why are we not on Google Maps, dude? That's like that's like the main one. Whatever.
I'm actually an Apple Maps person these days.
They kind of did close the gap, didn't they?
They
It
did.
used to suck, and then now all of a sudden it's like, man, it's good now.
I find the what we call in the biz, the UX, to be really good on Google Maps.
Yeah, shout out to Steve Apple for that one.
But I mean, Tom, to your point, speaking of Apple Maps, I have no idea where Memphis is. If you were to pull it up on Google Maps, where would it be?
I don't know, man. That's a good question, and I don't think one that we have the tools to really tackle on this show. But it's where the Spurs were Saturday night. Another A+ transition there. It's really
Bro, just
yeah, no, good work. We got us there. It was a good effort for the Spurs, who, I had this game as a Sharpie loss when we talked about it. And yes, the Grizzlies banged up, short rest for them, but a win is a win, and this was a good win with a De'Aaron Fox game winner, which was a ton of fun. So, Zach, I'll start with you, man. What were some of your takeaways from this close, tight win in Memphis?
Steph Castle's proving himself every day. I think when I left that game, I was like, wow, Steph Castle. I think I've done that a lot of times this season. And then, of course, De'Aaron Fox gets fouled with, 15 seconds, 20 seconds left to go of the game. Hits his three free throws, clutch free throws. And then Jaren Jackson hits an unbelievable bank shot. Credit where credit's due. Jeremy Sohan was in his jersey I mean, you couldn't have played it any better. And he banks it in, and you're like, oh, this is gonna how one of those games go. And then De'Aaron Fox happens. Got his first game winner for the Spurs. Should have been his second. But once again, just shows that he is a clutch player of the year for a reason a few years ago, and had a great night down the stretch. He had 13 points going into the fourth and had seven in the fourth quarter to end with 20 and had some big buckets down the stretch. So shout out to De'Aaron.
I mean, he crushed it that game. And yeah, Jaren Jackson went lights out. And one thing I want to talk about, like with that game winner, Zach, is as that was a game that I ended up having to watch the replay of. And one of the things I love about watching replays and knowing like the outcome of the game is I feel like it definitely like changes the way I watch the game. And I knew that there was a game winner, but I saw that De'Aaron Fox had done essentially the same play, same spot against Santi Aldama to end the first half. And so to see him go right back to essentially like his bread and butter spot, I was like, that's great. The other really interesting thing, and I'm going to definitely hit on it some more this show, the bench unit of Johnson, Champagny, Sohan, Castle, and Fox was plus 11 in this game. When the team started to need runs to be made, this was the lineup that Mitch Johnson went with. And we've definitely seen this year the growing pains of the small ball lineup, but we're really starting to see something come together, especially with Jeremy at the 5, quote unquote, while still taking on point of attack on defense. So Ben was really impressed with this. We're really impressed by this game. Tom, what do you got?
It was good to see the fight across the board from the guys in this one. Like, they needed it all night. Memphis still the superior team, even with the back-to-back and the injuries. They're a team that you expect to kill the Spurs in the paint, and it was, closer to even there than I kind of would have expected going into the game. And we saw aggressive Devin Vassell. We saw Jeremy Sohan and Steph Castle like fighting for everything. It was a balanced win, and that Fox winner, man. They were right to send a double, but you don't send a double to De'Aaron Fox's right hand. Like,
what was that about?
I know that his left pinky is like, a little messed up right now. We'll talk about that later in this show, but you don't want forced De'Aaron Fox left. That's a problem. And then to stop on a dime fade for the winner. Yeah. Fun game. And this is like, they built a big lead in this game early, right? But the way things have been going, it felt precarious, right? So they had to, we've seen them let go of the rope this year and last year in various games, and this was one where they held on to the rope for dear life, and that was awesome to see. It was awesome to see that get rewarded with a win.
Yeah. And then next night, I mean, we're going to see this a lot the rest of the season, not just with the Spurs schedule, but we're kind of seeing it across the league. A lot of back-to-backs in multiple weeks. But next night against OKC, I would call this a honorable loss because it was at least entertaining. We had, let me pull it up here. The Sega Babadook came back to bite us in the ass. But we did have really good energy, I thought, through 3 quarters. But then Jalen Williams driving to the basket, I thought, was a little too much for us in the fourth. And then Stephon Castle further announcing himself to the league. I know, Zach, you really love this part of it. Jeremy Sohan not starting a fight, but he was ready to end it, taking on 4 OKC players in that game. So, Tom, I'll start with you. What do you got on this on the OKC game?
So this was another game where offense was not the problem for the Spurs in this one. This was the first time the Spurs have scored 130 points in consecutive games since January of last year, which was the Hornets and Pistons. By By the way, I scrolled back pretty far to find that. And if you want to just like put this season in perspective, scroll through last season or the season before a little bit, and it's so much red. Oh my god. But so the offense was great, and a ton of offense in this game from Steph Vassell, 32 points, right off of a career high. 10 3-point attempts and four made, both of those career highs. And I'll talk more about Castle a little later on in the show, but he's you know, not just announcing himself to the league, but like to Spurs fans, to his teammates. Like I think he is very quickly earning the trust and the leash and the ball in critical situations and throughout the game. So yeah, Steph Vassell, what a game.
Yeah, Zach, what do you got? He was fantastic. And Tom, you're in his first shot, 56% from the floor. I mean, to sit that they didn't play great basketball, they played fantastic basketball. I think on the other end, OKC had 3 players in their starting lineup with 6 or more assists. And they just play a great brand of basketball. They play a great brand of basketball. You have a guy go for 41, you have another guy go for 31 in your starting lineup. You have a tough time keeping up with 2 great scorers like that. Jalen Williams and SGA were fantastic. But this, you brought up a point about Jeremy Sohan. He just loves to fight. He loves to fight. He even said, I don't start things, I end things. He's a, I don't even want to touch on the game because we watched the game. It was a fun game to watch. It was back and forth. But the game within the game, Jeremy knew that Lou Dort had a technical foul already on him. He didn't go look for anybody else but Lou Dort. He's like, I'm gonna, and he's like, who do I? You're already in trouble. I'm gonna get you in even more trouble.
As somebody who grew up watching soccer, dude.
Exactly. He's a soccer. It is literally a soccer player. The guy's on a yellow card. Let's go try to rile him up even more, get him on another yellow card. And so he went 4-on-1. Shout out to that guy. Shout out to Jeremy. He did the picture of him with his hand on a jersey and then 4 OKC players around him. He's just looking down. I love it. The game was fun, but that in itself just shows that Jeremy went for a dunk and was the first guy on the scene at half court. He's like, oh shit, they're fighting. I need to go. I need to run across the court. So I love it. He's got his teammates back, and that's what you need. You need a bad guy. You need a bad guy on your team.
Love it. One last thing I'll say on this one, Tom, to add to Stephen Castle's many accolades, we forgot to mention that ankle breaker on Isaiah Hartenstein on the baseline. I mean, brother cooked that dude wearing what was that movie that Seth Rogen was like a superhero in? The Green Mask or something? That's what I thought Isaiah Hartenstein looked like. And you know what? He fell just about as bad as that movie did in the box office. So shout out to Stephen Castle for that one.
I did not know that we were trying to get strays directed that way. But hilarious.
You know what I love? I love Jacob Toby's when someone gets crossed, when he says, his shoes got creased. I'm like, that's a great say. I love it.
It was.
Hardenstein's got
so pushed. He was torching guys, though. I mean, you don't put up 32 if you're not torching guys.
Tom, shout out to you for throwing the alley-oop to me for this next segue. Because speaking of torching dudes, Devin Vassell on Tuesday went flame-throwing back in San Antonio against the Nets. Zach Montana was in the building when our guy got out of his shooting slump for one night and put up, I believe, 37 in that game. Broke a Spurs record for made threes in a game. And, man, he cooked. So, Zach, you were in the building. Tell us about what you saw. What was the vibe? Also, what was the T-shirt you bought?
Oh, the T-shirt doesn't make any sense. I don't know why it's in the team store. I'll show it first. It's a Victor Wembanyama shirt, which, great. Love Victor. But it just has trees on it. I don't understand it. It's got a Spurs logo. I don't get what it's saying, but it's a good color. It's a good shirt. So I said, you know what? You got me. I
You
support
need
my
to
guy.
meditate on it, bro.
There
Just
you
look
go.
at it for a few hours.
There
See
you
what
go.
it tells you.
I think you're just looking. Wimpy's tall. These are tall trees.
Right.
I don't know how much deeper it is than that.
No, it's pretty big. It's just I was like, you know, that's a sick shirt. But the game was awesome. A lot of dunks, a lot of threes. It was one of those games you go into and you're kind of curious to see how they respond. They gave up 146 on Sunday night. It was a real good get back game. They came out with some energy, playing some good defense. I loved what I saw from Devin. I mean, I think we all kind of expected him to kind of get out of any NBA player is a great basketball player at the end of the day. So they know how to put the ball in the hoop, and I'm just glad to see him have a good game. I know he's been beating himself up. There was a play where he made a steal. Keldon Johnson was wide open for an alley-oop, and he hit this transition running three, and I was like, all right, you're feeling good today. I hope that's consistent, but it was a fun game. A lot of dunks. Steph Castle, I think it's like true life. I'm addicted to dunking on people. That's what Steph Castle's like saying is because he loves dunking on people. He's like, all right, you're in the way, you're getting dunked on. So it was a fun game.
He loves to catch bodies. And Tom, I'm gonna relay this to you. So Zach was obviously at the game. He saw a lot of dunks and threes. Do you think because Zach and that Zach saw a bunch of dunks and threes during this game that it's ruining the modern day game? And then how would you apply that to your analysis of this game?
I am so sorry that you had to see that, Zach.
Oh, it was a bummer,
I know
dude.
that we've lost the beauty of the mid-range jumper.
Where's my
It's truly
LaMarcus Aldridge?
devastating. What happened to the game we love? But nah, dude, this is sick, man. And Devin Vassell. I mean, let's. I truly want to give props to Devin Vassell because this is a career high 37 points. This is the most threes anybody has ever made in a Spurs uniform in a game. This is he was one of 4 guys with 5 or more assists, and he threw some of the best passes I've ever seen him throw in his career in this game. And it is shooting is one of his main NBA skills, and shooting is such a confidence thing, right? And sometimes you need to see the ball go through the hoop. And if you're not seeing the ball go through the hoop, it's a vicious cycle. And he saw the ball go through the hoop a lot in this game. But it was building on the aggression that I've seen from him throughout the week, you know? So that's the frustrating thing about shooting, right? You can't control once it leaves your hands, you can't do anything about whether it goes in the hole or not. It's not up to you. That's up to the basketball gods. You can prepare, you can train, but he's been doing all of the other things, I think, at a increased level of intensity. The defense has been sharper. Attacking the basket when the shot's not falling. He's been doing that better. So, yeah. And then this was a game where the Spurs won the rebounding battle, won in the paint. Shout out to Bismack Biyombo with a sturdy double-double in this one. But yeah, man, really, like, ball was moving. Plays were being made. Another game with another outsized scoring output from this team.
Yeah, and Bismack Biyombo led in most of the lineups this game that had the higher plus minus. So shout out to him. And we'll jump into last night's game as we're recording this on Saturday morning. De'Aaron Fox's return to Sacramento. And I'm not going to lie, fellas, this was probably more of a regression to what we were expecting last week. I mean, remember last week when we recorded, we were bummed for a multitude of reasons. We were like, man, are we going to win games this last week? And we won 2. So like, that's been good. But last night I felt like was kind of more the same of what we see. Like, oh, like we won the first quarter. Cool. 26-20, which was pretty low scoring quarter to say the least. And then we lost the other 3 quarters. And Tom, I think you had a really interesting stat that you tweeted about last night. So maybe you could lead off with that as kind of the story of this game.
Oh man, well, I mean, you said it. They won the first quarter, low scoring quarter, right? And you're like, okay, we're feeling good. Like we can maybe see what we can do here.
I think it was 56-23 was what I saw your
Yeah.
tweet, if I remember correctly.
All right, yeah. So 26-20 Spurs after the first quarter, and then the Kings went on a 56-23 run, extended over a quarter plus into the second half. So, yeah, again, talk about letting go of the rope, right? And disappointing game to do it. You know, it meant a lot to De'Aaron Fox. First of all, Jonas Valanciunas is a beast, right? Like every time he plays the Spurs, it's brutal. The other thing with this game was obviously it was De'Aaron Fox's like return to Sacramento, which no, he wanted to have a better game and leave there with a win. Got a lot of applause in the tribute video, got a lot of boos when he touched the ball. And, you know, to those booing, I feel your pain. I get it. But like, you know, like Katniss Everdeen said, don't forget who the real enemy is. Like, come on now. But yeah, AB, what do you get from this game?
Well, honestly, not a lot. Stephon Castle did catch a body, so that is still something that he likes to do. So like I said, I thought this was a bit of a regression from things that we'd seen throughout the week. I have thought that despite some of the higher scoring from our previous opponents, that our perimeter defense has looked better. I've seen a lot better communication in previous games to this. Zach LaVine just kind of going off. There were some times where it was like he had someone in his face and he was still hitting threes. Like we lost we actually didn't lose the turnover battle in this game. We lost the rebounding battle, which is normal. The other thing that really stuck out to me and, kind of reminds me of when we talked to Kevin Durant in a press conference when he's like, they just took more shots than us. There is such a discrepancy in shooting in this game where they had 9 more shots as a whole than we did and shot it at 51%. So when every other shot essentially you're making is going in and you're taking 9 more of those than the team you're playing against, don't really need in-depth analytics to understand how a win's going to happen there. So Zach, you got anything on this one?
Not really. That was the point. I had nothing really to say about this game. The one thing that we knew was going to happen was the Spurs are the league worst of offensive rebounds given up per game, 12.4, the worst in the league. And going up against a game with Giannis Valanciunas in the paint, you're going to be in some trouble. And that's what we saw.
He had a double-double in the first half in this game.
Yeah, you just knew what was going to happen. So
I wonder what Jonas Valanciunas thinks when he plays the Spurs. Is he like, this is the time I get paid? Like, I go to my agent and like, go,
Well,
look what I do to this team.
Thinks. I think he blacks out and sees red, and then like 3 hours later, he's surrounded by dead bodies.
Did we piss him off somewhere? Did we like did we like say we were gonna draft him and then didn't draft him? Like what happened?
Jonas Valanciunas, whatever the Spurs did, whatever somebody from San Antonio did to hurt you, we apologize on their behalf sincerely. Please stop doing this to us.
Tom, you were advocating for him to be on the team so much earlier this year.
Oh my God,
I
yes.
understand it.
And people kept telling me, oh, he's old. Oh, the stats aren't this good here. Have you ever seen Jonas Valanciunas play basketball? It's terrifying.
Specifically when he plays the Spurs, it's terrifying. So.
Sign him just so you don't have to play against.
I think that's a very good use of money. We have cash considerations. Like take a suitcase, get some handcuffs, handcuff that shit to your wrist with that suitcase and just leave it for Jonas Valanciunas. If you have to cut off your hand to make sure that he gets that money, do it so he
Couple
can just
second
stop
round
cooking the
picks. He's on a
Spurs.
great contract. Oh.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you know what I gotta say? Just after this week and after this Wemby-less stretch that the team has been on, this Charles Bassey-less stretch, I miss my Zach Collins, bro. Like, and he is crushing for the Bulls right now. He's putting up huge numbers.
no, he had that one good game where he put up big numbers and then he fouled out in like 20 minutes.
He's had a couple of
earlier
really
this
good
week.
games for them. And like, I mean, his limitations as a player aside, just a warm body that's 7 feet tall. The Spurs are starting a center who's 6'8". Their backup center, also 6'8".
6'8". Well, with that being said, let's jump into high praise. Hallelujah! Welcome back to High Praise, everyone. In this section, we are always looking for the positives from the last week. Things that we want to give some high praise to, really. It's not really a double entendre of any sort. So with that being said, Zach, what's your high praise for this last week?
Wemby. I know he's not playing, but he's still being a great teammate. By all accounts, you can tell he wants to support the team. Mitch Johnson has said that he was going through some stuff not being with the team. It was kind of affecting him in a way. And I think it was funny reading an article about it by saying the Spurs have forbidden him to touch a basketball. Like, he's not even allowed to touch a basketball at this point because they know he's just so like antsy to get back to the court. But him being a good teammate, him flying out to Sacramento yesterday to support De'Aaron Fox in his game back. Last Sunday when he was on the bench, you could tell he was a little down the OKC game. He didn't stand up at one point to celebrate. Everything was like clapping, sit down. And then the Tuesday game came along. You could tell his energy changed a little bit. He was hitting some sellies on the bench. He was getting all riled up. And then last night when they did the tribute for De'Aaron Fox, Wemby had the biggest smile on his face. I was watching the League Pass stream, so it was showing the bench or whatever going on during commercial, and Wemby was the biggest smile, the biggest like supporter of what was going on. Just because you could tell, he wanted to be with Wemby as a teammate, so Wemby was reciprocating it and being a good teammate back. I respect that.
Yeah. I mean, also great chance for Wemby to show off those customized Louis Vuitton pants. I feel like at any point he is rocking some Louis. So good for him. Those are probably like $20,000 pants, at least.
I've got an idea. It's an idea that I stole from a man that I saw on the Long Island Railroad one time. But now that I'm bald, I can do it. What if I got the Louis V print just like tatted like where hair would be?
Louis Vuitton, your people call our people.
I want it to be official. Like,
We'll take a
a
sponsorship. We'll take it. I have no issue with that.
Yeah, no problem there.
But I also think I have a compromise for Wemby not touching a basketball, right? Because that seems cruel. He should be able to touch a basketball. Dribble, maybe not. But like he can carry it around like Tim Duncan.
Well, see, Tom, I was going to say that like he should do the Tim Duncan off-season training, which was go to the Caribbean, swim a lot, don't touch your basketball, come back. You're good. You're still getting your cardio in. You're still, there's non-contact. You're still working out, keeping in shape, keeping lean, that sort of thing.
Get some raise, bro.
Yeah.
Feel the sand between your toes.
So my high praise is going to go towards the bench unit. I think I still honestly, we are going to have questions about the starting lineup because Bismack Biyombo is not going to be our starting center next year. Who knows if Chris Paul is on the team? Harrison Barnes, kind of the same thing. We essentially, if things stay the same as they are, we're looking at like at least De'Aaron Fox and Devin Vassell in the starting lineup. And I think at the beginning of the season, we had questions on whether Stephon Castle and Jeremy Sohan can share the court together. Tom, you're going to get into it, but like, looks like they can. Looks like when the team needs runs, the 4 guys of Johnson, Sohan, Castle, and Champagny are the ones to go there. In the first 2 games of the week between Memphis and OKC, when we made those runs, that lineup with De'Aaron Fox came in. When there was a run in the Nets game, it was that lineup with Devin Vassell. So it's essentially like hot hand of your offensive player paired with these dudes is great. And I hope that it keeps building the chemistry for all of those folks, because I would hope that Jeremy makes his way back into the starting lineup next year. Same with Stephon Castle. But even not, both of them embracing more of a bench role, being able to find that there is still plenty of minutes to be played and be effective while on the court. It's really been a breath of fresh air. And the only reason, I mean, not the only reason, but to my point earlier in the show when we were talking about OKC hanging with them for 3 quarters, Julian Champagny was the one who was thrown out of that game in the third when that fight broke out. And so Mitch Johnson was not able to go back to that lineup, but that was something I was looking at the rest of the week. So be on the lookout, Spurs fans, for anything that involves those 4 guys. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with them.
Well, I texted the group last night, and what that defensive lineup does is they run like a real weird, like a 3-2 switch everything defense. It's pretty fun to watch, especially when you're playing a perimeter based offense. When they're trying to do everything on the top of the key with perimeters and screen, the Spurs are just switching absolutely everything. And that's been a very interesting point to what you say. Like, the offense is fun, but the defense is also fun. I think a lot of those guys match up well with really anyone on the court. You have size.
Well, they're switching, to your point, everything. They're doing better on those switches. The other thing that they're doing is, to your point on that zone, you'll see this a lot now. And I don't know if this is the De'Aaron Fox thing that's taught or if this is a Chris Paul thing, but I'm seeing Chris Paul, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle do this, is that if they are in the blind side of the person who has possession of the ball, they are coming on the blind side and poking it out. And they're doing it really quick. Like, the timing on it has been damn near impeccable. And even if they don't get a steal out of it, they are really frazzling the ball handler at that point of the possession. And so kind of been something interesting of that. Yeah, it's been a much more proactive defense. So I want to give a shout out to that. Tom, what do you got?
I just want to say, first of all, high praise to you for that observation. That's good stuff. That's the kind of nuanced ball knowledge you can come to expect from a Silver and Black Coffee Hour, ladies and gentlemen. And Aaron Blackerby and Zach Montana. I love these guys. I also love Steph Castle. Steph Castle, man. That guy is good, and he is having a great month of March so far. The 4 games that we've talked about on today's episode, where the Spurs are 2-2, he's averaging in those games 24.5 points, 4.8 assists, 4.3 rebounds. He's shooting 55% from the field on 17 shots per game. He's 35% on 6.5 3-point attempts per game. Continual growth, continual improvement. Absolutely fantastic player to watch, because he has full confidence from 28 feet in. He is not afraid to shoot. He is not afraid to dunk on 4 people. He is he's not afraid to guard the other team's best player with the ball in his hands. He's getting more connected and more confident and more comfortable every time he goes out there. He is averaging almost 30 minutes a game over these 4 games. And the improvement is clear and measurable on 3-point attempts on a volume of around 4 attempts per game for these months. 21% in December, 29% in January, 31% in February, and now closer to the league average at 35%. Right?
Yeah,
so his feet are wet, and he's swimming pretty good, actually.
And since the All-Star break, he's taken on more of a role as the initiator of the offense, bringing the ball up. So that has been really cool to see. I think that was something that when he was first drafted, he was like, I want to play point guard. And they're like, no, you're going to be out on the wing. And now he's actually getting more of a chance to be the creator.
I think it goes back to what you were talking about with the second unit, right? Because people, I think as soon as De'Aaron Fox got here, it was like, Chris Paul, thank you for your service. Go to the bench now. And, I asked Mitch Johnson about this when the Spurs were in town. And I think his answer revealed a lot about like what they think about him. It was basically like, because I asked, how do you maximize the pairing with Fox and Chris Paul? And he was like, well, and also Castle, right? And there's been more staggering with Castle and one of those guys, but also they've been letting Castle, run some minutes still without either of them, and let him really take control of the offense. And so it's been really cool to watch his everything is growing. Everything.
I want to give one more high praise before we go into questions next week. There has been this play. I haven't seen it. I didn't see it last night, but there has been this amazing action that I'll be interested to see them develop more into next season, where De'Aaron Fox essentially brings up the ball. He throws it to, this is once again with that bench unit and De'Aaron Fox. Brings the ball up the court. Throws it ahead to Keldon at the top of the key, and then he's got Jeremy out on the left wing. What happens is once he tosses it, he starts getting downhill. Keldon sets a screen, tosses it to him. Jeremy sets a second screen, and Jeremy has done two actions on this right now. He's done a short roll to the basket that we've seen. We've also seen him pop out. And what that does is it gives De'Aaron Fox this runway to get downhill and make a decision. I cannot wait to see this play deployed more with him next season, especially with Wemby deciding whether or not he wants to roll or come out on the 3-point line. But like, I'll use this as a transition into our questions of the week. I'm not sure how much more we're going to see it because after some comments made by De'Aaron Fox last night about getting the pinky surgery, where that's going to leave him. So going into questions, Tom, this was your initial one. I'm going to let you tee it up here.
Well, yeah. So the question is it time to get the surgery on De'Aaron Fox's left pinky, his dominant hand, which has been playing taped for the entire season? He said that he's gonna get it taken care of eventually, right? And the Spurs without Victor Wembanyama, not mathematically out of that 10th seed, which is because it's about the teams ahead of them, right? Trailblazers, who went on that insane hot streak in the last few months. The Suns, who are free fall, and the Mavericks, who, like if all three of those teams are giving it away, and the Spurs can, play 500 ball, right? It's
not out of the question. Yeah,
it's not entirely out of the question, right? And I thought it was interesting that Fox said this. I'm sure he was asked about, what are you doing with the pinkies? But usually somebody asks a Spurs player that, they're like, yeah, no, we're going to talk to the doctors and see, and instead De'Aaron Fox was like, actually, I'm going to get it looked at on March 17th, and I might have surgery that day, which is not how it works with the Spurs, dude. He'll be like held out of a game with like pinky soreness or nothing, if that. Like, you won't hear anything until the press release comes out that's like, De'Aaron Fox had successful surgery on his left pinky to repair or whatever it was. We expect him to be ready for training camp, whatever it is. Like there's no I'm getting it looked at on this specific date, right? That's something that like kind of struck me, and I was like, why float this out there? Why say this to the general public, right? And if it's for a temperature check, I think probably a lot of Spurs fans would be like, you there's no sense like wrecking the car for 20th place, right? Um, what matters is next year, get right, get ready to attack training camp with Wemby together, healthy, and see what that looks like for more than a game or two,
Well, I think that's why he comes out and says it though. 'Cause I think it context matters in this situation. It'd be one thing if the Spurs were fully healthy and he was dealing with that pinky injury, and we're like, okay, we don't know what's going on. They're in this they're the same record they have right now with Wemby, but without Wemby, what are you trying to gain? Okay, we've got a month of basketball in the air, and we kind of I get an idea how he operates, where he likes to be, the spaces he likes to be in, the sets he likes to play in, the defense he likes to run and whatnot. Okay, we got an idea. I would much rather shut him down, get the pinky fixed, let him and Wemby have a full training camp together, let him have a full off season to work on what he feels he needs to work on. What's the point of, like, you're right, 20th wrecking in 20th place? We're just trying to I think context matters in this situation. I think that's why he's a lot more open. I mean, you never really see a player show his injury at a press conference like he did with us when we were in there. You never really see those type of things. He's been very open with it. And it doesn't look that great when you see it. It's like that pinky is jacked up. So get it fixed.
It's messed up. Yeah, I mean, I hope he gets it fixed sooner rather than later. I don't really have anything else to add other than, like, we've seen some, sets run with him, but for the most part, it has been pretty much like he fits well on just showing up in the middle of the season, essentially. So
I think the one thing to add to this is that if Fox does get shut down, I think then we see Steph Castle in a starting lineup. And I think that if we're talking about his continued growth, would be very interesting to watch and follow.
Totally. Well, yesterday there was a very interesting article with very interesting timing coming out right before De'Aaron Fox's return to Sacramento, I should say, from Michael C. Wright, kind of talking about the fallout that happened between him and the team. And I kind of wanted to discuss it with you guys because it did have some interesting tidbits on it. One, De'Aaron saying that there was no list of teams. He did specifically say, I want to go to San Antonio. I want to play with Wemby. He talked about how to be successful in this league, you need a dynamic wing player. Sounded like he advocated for Cam Johnson to come to Sacramento. And really, forgive the Texas colloquialism here, but really hitched his wagon to Mike Brown as well. And so it's always interesting to see some of these things come out, stories like this, once the dust is cleared, giving more time to the players' side of the story rather than the organizations, or other like various voices on the internet who are saying that he forced his way out. But I kind of wanted to ask you guys what y'all thought about it. I mean, I have some thoughts about it as well, but Zach, I'll let you go first.
He was very honest. I think very transparent with where he was coming from. I think as a Kings fan, it would annoy me. As a Spurs fan, it's very interesting to already see that players want to play with Wemby and are very vocal about it. And these aren't role players; these are like star players in this league that recognize a player a year and a half into his career is like, I need to be there. And that's what I took from it, from the article, was the most shocking. I think we know the Kings are the Kings. It's not shocking to hear that he's butting heads with the front office in that organization. I think with the comment that was made to us when the question was asked about the difference between the two organizations that he's noticed when he was in Austin, and he kind of chuckled about it. And like, even then you could tell there was like he was insinuating that he's already noticed a difference in organizations, and he'd been here
I
for a
didn't
week
mean
and a
to
half.
set him up like that. Like, it was more like, what about this? What about
But
the Spurs? And like, you could tell he's still kind of nursing some old wounds, I guess.
right, and you
But
could
yeah,
tell he was very honest about it and saying that there was a difference, and he wanted to be here for a reason. From what he's heard from players and what he's heard from his agent and what he's heard and what he's seen from the players, he wanted to be here, and I love that. That's what I took from that.
and
Yeah.
I'm wanting to not be in Sacramento. Like I said, I understand you're paying Kings fans, but this was relatively quick. Spurs got a year of the Kawhi saga, right? The the thing with Fox was he says in this article that he was told that they were going to listen to offers for him after his agent was told and after the news was breaking. He says in this article, quote, "I was like, yo, I've been here for going on my 8th year. If Mike gets fired, I'll be going on my 5th coach. And I told them, I'm not going to play for another coach. I'm going to play for another team." Straight up. It's like, if you know that somebody, somebody you're close with is like not a great dude, right? Like you know him, you love him for whatever reason, family, whatever it is. But it's like, man, this guy's always screwing up. And there's like a cycle of partners that comes through. You gonna get mad at them for leaving, or you're gonna be like, yeah, the Sacramento Kings are like they've become synonymous with mismanagement for good reason, right? It's tough. I hate that for you guys. Kings fans deserve better. They deserve better for 20 years, for 75 years. Kings fans have deserved better. I feel for you, Kings fans. Don't take it out on De'Aaron Fox, though.
No, I mean, I've talked about this many times. Like, this is essentially like getting to see public work environments. In any other work scenario, if you feel like you're not being appreciated at work, what do you do? Maybe the healthiest thing to first do is go talk to management and be like, hey, I don't feel appreciated. This is what I like. I've been a top performer for this team. Like in my day job, like I'm in sales. In sales, you do have, top performers do like essentially get what they want. Cause they're like, hey, you help bring us money in. What can we do to make your life easier? And it's about like having that adult to adult relationship. I think one of the things that like makes me a fan of the Spurs organization is that they treat people like adults. One of the things we hear about is that the team is good at communicating. And I don't think they're communicating all the time as just like, hey, like pampering you. I think they're like, you come in here as an adult, we're treating you like an adult. You're going to hear sometimes things that like you don't like, but we're not going to do it in a way to belittle you. And so I do think that sometimes like one of the differences that I see with the way that the Spurs are run compared to others. And from everything that I'm reading and from interactions, even with De'Aaron Fox, to Zach's point, he's a very honest, like upfront dude. Not really one to hold back one way or another. But it still sounds like he dealt with this in as best of a scenario where, think about this, y'all. Where were you in 19 and then where were you at 27? 8 years of growth is huge. Most of us are still binge drinking in college to not binge drinking as much by 27. Some people might still be, but like regardless is what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of like personal and emotional growth. And he said that in his pregame where he was like, this is where I grew up. Sacramento means a lot to me in the community. And as part of that growing up, though, there's also a understanding of your self-worth. There is also an understanding of the type of life, the type of career that you want to have. And I think he was just starting to actualize that for himself. And Rich Paul, his agent, whatever you want to say about Clutch, his job is to make sure that his clients are happy. And it doesn't even sound like that they tried to over leverage the Kings. It seems like the Kings tried to overplay their hand. To Tom's point, this has been a dysfunctional franchise for many years. And there are already rumors now about like Sabonis maybe exploring, because once again, it is not it's a volatile workplace. So I can't blame anyone for that. But
I mean, this is a franchise that hasn't won a playoff series in 20 years. They have not appeared in the finals for 75 years as a franchise. That's tough. Like that is tough, but especially recent management. It's been catastrophic for this team and for this fan base that deserves better. So understand your pain, feel your pain, Kings fans.
yeah. Well, I want to do one last question, and this could be really quick, because earlier this week, Zach Montana, our own, went on Jeff Garcia's podcast,
out
Locked
to
On
Jeff.
Spurs. Shout out to the legend, Jeff Garcia.
Right.
One interesting thing came up is Jeff said that we were the Rated R podcast, and I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Zach, you did a great job defending us, saying we're independent. We are, but we are open for business. We're always open for advertising.
Right. But I mean, shit. Like, I think right now we're still PG-13, because if you PG-13, you get to say fuck once. But I just said it again, so now twice rated R.
Okay, maybe
Not
we
for
are the Rated
children.
R podcast. But I thought that was really a funny bit. I just wanted to bring to light, Zach. You did such a great job chopping it up with Jeff and talking about KD rumors. Let's not get into that right now. That's some off-season
I do want to jump
about.
in and say, Jeff told me before the episode, he goes, "Hey, this is a PG rated podcast, so watch your." So we jump in, and literally the first 30 seconds, I'm like, "Yeah, it was great to shoot the shit with you. I mean, stuff with you." I was like, "Fuck!" God damn it.
Guys, we're gonna
See,
leave
I feel like I'm the one that needs like that talking to. Like, I'm the one who's gotten called out in the comments for having the potty mouth. So maybe we are the Rated R podcast of the Spurs community.
I mean, that's fine. We're also the nicest and coolest.
There you go.
So
I mean, fuck
whatever.
it. We'll do it live.
Most famous alumnus from my high school, believe it or not, Bill O'Reilly. Not a good fuck that guy.
but an all time clip.
Him and the Leatherman from the Village People both went to my high school, not classmates.
Oh, okay. Well, Tom, thank you for that trivia. Let's do this real quick, guys, as we're wrapping up here. Man, we have a week of games. In this week, we have 2 back-to-backs, 5 games across 7 days. Adam Silver, speaking from the Spurs Rated R podcast. Get your logistics shit department together, bro. This is a lot to put on some really intense legs. I don't care if you're young or old. It's a lot. And this isn't AAU. This is the NBA. But to kick things off, Sunday, we are going to be playing against Anthony. I don't want to be the face of the league is probably about to do some Charles Barkley-like commercial where "I am not your role model" is quoted and repurposed. Edwards against the Spurs.
It's a long name. We got to tighten that up.
Not my problem. That's Anthony Edwards.
I know nicknames is the big thing on NBA Twitter right now. We got to tighten that one up. But yeah,
I was a long one there.
man. I'm interested to see who guards him in this one. Jeremy Sohan has done a great job on everybody. Steph Castle, I'm sure, will get some reps. Devin Vassell, what it do, baby? Keldon Johnson. Throw bodies at him. We'll see what works.
Spurs fans going to be salivating over watching Naz Reid in this game, I'm sure. We won't get into that again. That's an off-season conversation. Zach, what do you got on this one?
I told Jeff I don't get into those conversations, so we will avoid it on this podcast. But Minnesota's a great team. This will be a fun game to watch. Anthony Edwards. He's going to do some crazy shit. Tune in.
There will be a watch party at Boulder Acres North tomorrow for Austin-based Spurs fans. Just FYI for that game. Then coming up, we'll have our first Sega Baba against The most hated rivals of the Spurs, the Dallas Mavericks,
Not even
the
close.
saddest franchise I'd say out there. I feel for the fans, but Mavericks front office, I will never feel sad for you. I will never feel sad for Mark Cuban. I will never feel sad for the Adelsons and Nico Harrison. I love that Twitter account that asks every day if you're a bitch, because you know what? It's right. So with that
Crazy
being
what they
said,
did, bro. In the NBA Finals 10 months ago. Crazy.
they had last night against the Grizzlies 7 players warming up for their team. I imagine we're going to get at least one of these games between Monday and Wednesday against the Mavs. If we got both of them, I'd love it. If we get one, that's fine. Let's not lose both of them,
The
because this
the Mavs
is a
are
sad
500
franchise
right now. Do you remember how disgusting the tank was when they were trying to get into the Wemby draft?
Oh, it was awful.
Oh yeah.
Spurs winning both of these games. And at those games, because this is both at home, right? It was the start of a nice little
Yeah.
home stand for the Spurs. Spurs fans, do some outreach. You see somebody in a Dirk jersey, don't yell at him or pour a beer on him. Get him a beer. Put your arm around that person. Tell them it's okay. There's a good basketball team in Texas, and the future is here. This could be the start of your future, friend. Do some outreach.
Start the outreach campaign to your fellow Mavs fans, because once again, we don't like the organization, but we're not here to hate on the fans.
Yeah.
We're here to
You're
show
not
you the
Rockets
way.
fans.
Yeah.
You're like cool.
Hey, can we open you up to the Old Testament? It's the beginning of the Victor Wembanyama saga. Currently, we're in Genesis in that book right now.
Right.
This
You
is
don't have to
right now
watch
with
any of
his
the
little
reruns.
beginning of the desert.
Yeah.
Bring him
then-
in.
And most importantly, these people need help, which means what? They're vulnerable. We can turn them.
Yeah.
We can get them.
Yeah, we can get them. Take advantage of them. That's not a great look, Tom, but we can get them. We can
Join
get
our
them.
family.
We can get them. The Mavs are. I watched the game last night against the Grizz. The Mavs. Oh, I didn't want to get into it. Poor bastards. That's all I can say.
Okay. Well, then we'll jump into Friday against the Hornets, and then we'll have Saturday against the Pelicans. What the hell? Look, let's beat the Hornets. Let's get some redemption on that team. They are losing games by 30 plus points. So, guys, let's show up for that one.
Please
And
play
then
good.
the Pelicans game, we're probably, I don't know about a win there. That's the second night of a back to back, and then Zion
Zion
even
is
on a
going
minutes
crazy.
restriction. Yeah.
He's
You got
averaging
anything on either of
27
those?
and 26 minutes a game, like 68% true shooting percentage. He's been unbelievable.
I think
Amazing.
I think there's a chance that the Spurs win 3 or even 4 of these games. I mean, like they can do it, and then that makes it interesting. Like you said, context, right, Zach? I think that makes it really interesting because the next game is on the day where De'Aaron Fox is getting his fingy looked at, and they might say, "All right, do the fingy."
Okay, let me ask a question.
and-
Let me ask a question. What happens if they do win 4 games and they're teetering? What do you, and you get 2 games back on Dallas, because you win 2 games on Dallas, it's 2 full games.
Well, Zach, I would love to use this as a transition to close out the show. We'll answer that question in a week's time.
AB, you're on fire with transitions today.
Especially,
They call me
especially
the
getting us to
segue
shut up. We
king.
should talk for another 3 minutes to really piss Aaron off. See if we can get him to curse some more on the Rated R Spurs podcast.
Oh, man. Dudes, we'll answer that question probably next week when we come back for the Silver and Black Coffee Hour. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this incredibly loopy-ass episode of the Rated R podcast in the Spurs community.
Rated X.
We'll wear that badge proudly. Oh, Jesus, Zach, we're not going there.
Kids are doing hard hands now. It's this. What the hell is that? No, come on, man. 2 hands. I love you guys.
Zach, what do you got to say before signing off?
5 games in a week. You better be a Spurs fan, because you got a lot of basketball to watch.
Hey, I love that. Do some outreach to some Mavs fans. Tell them to come like and subscribe to Silver and Black Coffee Hour. Hard hands for all the people listening out there and watching us on the podcast and YouTubes. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.